It was great to have our friend Rashad Jennings back on Sports Spectrum when we are down here at Super Bowl LVII. How are you, sir?
Man, I couldn't be any better. You wouldn't believe it.
I wouldn't believe it. I'm glad to hear that. I was just asking you about, what do you think of Radio Row and literally going from show to show to show, and there's probably 200-plus media entities, and what was your answer?
It's necessary.
It's necessary. Why is it necessary?
Because, if you're going shopping, you're not sure which brand you want to get, and you like an outlet mall because you get so many opportunities to see all the brands at once. I mean, This is the mecca of media, all in one spot where you don't have to get in an Uber to go to the next one. Yeah. They're just right across the street. So it's like a university. It's like a college campus of airwaves.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I see it. It's kind of cool.
And you get to share about Christ. That's always necessary.
Yeah,
we'll say, right?
It's the biggest necessity.
Yes.
And actually, one of the things that I'm excited about is this form I created. It's called After I Do. What happens with men after they say I do? Marriage is one of the most granular institutions that are not talked about enough on the airways in the sports world.
Yep.
And I get to bring that conversation to the table, man. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we were at the Huddle for Hope, which was an event they had here in Phoenix on Wednesday night, and you were on a panel discussion with Brian Dawkins, with Sean Alexander, with our friend Christina Hovestat, and some real and raw stuff was shared on that panel. But I'm just curious for you, what was your takeaway in being a part of an event like that? And there was a lot of people there. It was a couple hundred people, I bet, that were in that place. And there was a lot of men and a lot of women who came forward, either giving their life to Christ or just needing a hand, a touch, a prayer. It was a pretty powerful evening. Just kind of thoughts there on what it was like for you to be a part of that.
Rewarding, humbling, to be a part of it, to watch it, and I was affected by it. Yeah. I know I was one of the speakers, but I still listen, and I don't take myself. There's nothing special about me, man. I say that all the time. I'm just in a special position, and so to be a magnifying glass for things that are important, and being able to share, my faith, my experiences, which our experiences are our expertise, on how I, have a relationship with the Almighty is nice to do. It's an awesome responsibility, and to see how many people were affected by the messages that were given, all to edify Him, it's just nice to be a part of. Man.
Yeah, I heard you say, I wish that I had my notebook and I could take notes while I'm up on that panel, because Brian and Sean and Christina were bringing some wisdom. Our hope is to be able to share some of that on Sports Spectrum, so we'll let people listen to that. But I thought it was pretty awesome to hear from them. And it really, revival in some ways. I don't want to call it revival. That's probably the wrong term, but it was church. We'll just say that. It was church last night.
Yeah, it was praising the name of Jesus Christ, that died on a cross for our sins, man. That's who we were praising.
How has your walk been going? Like, when I ask you that, it's more of a generic question, but love to know how's your connection with the Lord right now? We had you on this show. It was probably right when COVID started, I think, so maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. And we talked pretty extensively about some of the things that you've walked through in your journey, but how's everything going right now?
Amazing, man. I'm at a position where I'm excited for all the things that are in front of me. Like I mentioned before, the forum that I've been creating is called After I Do. Yeah. I studied in school psychology and sociology. I got my honorary doctorate degree, and the reason why is because I have a desire to be a premarital marital counselor in the latter years of my life.
That is awesome.
Not right now, in the latter years, because I want wisdom when I talk.
Be married for a few years or whatever. Yeah.
And but creating this forum After I Do, I wanted to do it when I was 25 years old, but I wasn't married, and I knew the optics, no matter what engagement of conversation I had, it wouldn't be respected. And so, because I'm most recently now engaged, and I'm excited to make that next step, I've created this forum in which I will be having that open forum and conversation with men. What happens? What happens after you get married? Because I tell you this, your eyes work before you got married. They still work, don't they?
Oh, yes.
So how do you handle these? Like, seriously, how do you really handle this? Yeah. And, I think especially Christians need to stop hiding behind a cliche and really open up a little, not all, a little, How do you handle a situation in marriage when you're the in-laws? And who do you spend more time with during the holidays? Do your kids eat beef or not? Do you have them in private school or not? Do politics make a difference in the energy in your house if you don't have the same alliance? All of this stuff matters, and there are a lot of kids that are hungry to understand this. And they don't have anywhere to run to, because the only thing they can talk about is who's the best athlete, who's the greatest basketball player of all time, who's the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
These are the only thing that the airways are full of men talking about other men and if they're good at a sport. And so I am annoyed with the conversation, though I even take in it myself sometimes.
Sure.
But I always catch myself like, yo, there's something yearning in me to create a different form, and After I Do is what it is.
So the target of After I Do are people before they're married.
Both.
It's both, because I've been married 24 years this year in November. So
you'll be asked to come on.
Well, I was going to say that's great, but like, how could After I Do help me when I've been 24 years removed from After I Do? Or maybe it's not meant to help me. It's meant to help those who've been married for, I don't know. You tell me.
It's after.
Just anytime after.
So you're after.
So I'm part of that.
You're part of it, man. And so, like, the men talking to other men. Right. And really opening up conversation. Like, if anybody decides to open up one conversation and you're honest, it opens up another and another and another and another. You know, if you really go to counselors, if you sit down with a psychologist or a counselor, one of the things that they're doing, they're technician on getting you to a position where you can be honest. That's what a majority of them get paid to do.
Yes.
Is to get you to a place of vulnerability so you can actually tell the truth. And it's singular. It's with that one individual, and that's why they sign contracts that they will never share your truth.
Right.
So if we can get people to start telling the truth now, it will actually start to open up some of this trauma that some individuals have to actually pay to go tell the truth to somebody. Let's start doing it now.
I think it's really wise, because one of the prayers that I pray for every day, and it's really not a long prayer. It's just I write a lot of the prayers in my little journal prayer thing that I have. Is I just write the word marriage, like every single day, and it feels sometimes monotonous. But I'm at a different stage of life at 23 years married, and my wife has been with me for 25 plus years. My daughter's in college, and we're empty nesters now. Different stage of life. But it's an After I Do, almost, I don't know, like a recharge, because we'd always been married and then had kids, and suddenly the kids are out of the house, and now it's just us again.
Yeah.
And it's almost like being married all over again. So
to that, I was talking to my mom. She's 60. She's 69, and I asked her, "Who do you learn from to become a grandma?" Like, we teach kids how to be kids, how to become adults, and then after adults, they just kind of float. Nobody's really teaching the elderly how to become elderly. That's why, they got so many different types of homes, and the younger kids are trying to figure out what to do for their parents, of the empty nest syndrome. Like, where are the elderlies being taught how to be elders?
Yeah.
Where grandma's teaching, are you taught to how to be a grandma? Are you taught how to be?
Nobody's taught that, are they? They just kind of
figure it out, right? Yeah. And so this is a form, too, is After I Do. Yeah. Nobody's teaching people necessarily how to handle the things that you're going through.
Yeah, and After I Do, like you said, it could start with day 2 of marriage, or it could start with day 2022 of marriage.
Bingo.
Is that part of your foundation? I know the Rashad Jennings Foundation is such a big part of what you're doing. Tell us about that. Is it all connected a little bit, or is it separate?
It's a little bit separate. I focus on reading, education, literacy, mentorship, which the mentorship is kind of still at the heart of everything that I do.
Of course.
But yeah, we're getting kids to read. I'm excited. The 4-book series that I wrote, I get tons of emails from teachers, from parents, which is most important, about how much their kids have been reading.
That's cool.
And I try to do my due diligence of making the reading addictive for young boys. They've done their research on how to make potato chips addictive, and that's enough. The amount of sodium, carbohydrates, and sugar that will make neurons release, and you can't help but eat another one. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make it such a way that you can't help but to read the next chapter.
That's really good. Tell everybody the website.
Yeah, go to RashadJennings.com, and the first thing that'll pop up is the forum of After I Do. please fill out that information because you'll be getting a ping, text, or email, whichever you provide us with when the episode first come out. And honestly, sincerely, if you are listening and you think for a second this little knucklehead kid is talking about something that makes sense, that marriage is a topic that is not discussed enough in the airwaves, then please support. If you have ideas and suggestions, email me at AID, acronym for after I do, AID@RashadJennings.com. I'm looking forward to it, man.
AID@RashadJennings.com and the RashadJennings.com website for your foundation. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming by. Always appreciate it. We'll do it again sometime soon, hopefully.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.